Hey, hey! Happy Tuesday! It still says, I only have one red light that says live. So, there we go. There's two. Hey guys! Hey, hey! Happy Tuesday! Take two. We'll try this again. Hi, how are ya? On the Tuesday before Turkey Day. Are you losing your minds yet? I was in the store yesterday, and I called my mom right before I went, and she was at the store, and she's like, this is stupid. I luckily didn't have that hard of a time. It totally pays to be the person that's going to Thanksgiving dinner instead of making Thanksgiving dinner. So to those of you cooking, may the odds be ever in your favor. Anyways, let's get into it. How are you today? Let's hope that the internet cooperates. I'm going to pull you closer. I don't know how big of a difference that makes, but we're going to give it a whirl. It's windy as crap outside, so pardon my internet. Anyway, do you believe in Santa? I'm going to say yes, just in case. Little ears. So a couple few years ago, many moons ago, when my daughter was still tiny. She was probably 8-ish, 9-ish. I don't know. It's probably 9. We did the thing where, so we live in Michigan, and we're not very far from the place where the train is, that is the actual train that they used as a model for the Polar Express, the 1225 train, whatever. So we rode the Polar Express to the North Pole. It was really awesome. And now, thinking about that reminded me, this kid was obsessed with the Polar Express movie. Granted, it's a good one, right? And even as adults in the house, we were like, this is a good one. I've seen it enough times to not really desire to watch it again. And thankfully, my kid is now a teenager. She's now 16. 16 going on 30. Anyway, so we don't watch it. But today, I want to talk to you about belief. And this is my bell. Remember the Polar Express? At the end of the movie, they all just shook their bells. The kid got the bell because it's his belief, the belief bell, whatever. Yeah, we got belief bells when we went on the Polar Express. And, so how's this belief, both Pucky and Santa and all that, how's that relating back to your horses? Well, let me tell you, friend. Let me tell you. So, the way our brains work is that if we don't believe something is possible, it's never going to be possible in our brain, okay? Our belief controls very much our worldview and what we can see and what we can't see. And this is so true that even, this is an exercise that Tony Robbins has done and at a lot of his events, and it just makes so much sense to me because I've felt it, I've witnessed it, I've done it, and I've been like, oh, yeah. Where he'll have someone, I think we've probably done it in here before too. I've probably done it with you guys multiple times, where he says, look around the room, and I want you to find everything in the room that's red. And, okay, looking around, see all the red things, okay? I want you to account for the red things because I'm going to ask you, and you need to know. So, look around, find all of the things in the room that are red, okay? Close your eyes. Now tell me all the things in the room that you saw that were brown. How much brown did you see when you were looking for red? And the answer is always shit, I don't know, not much. And when you in your mind, you're like, anything that is relatively close to the color brown that I can remember seeing, I'm going to say it because I need an answer, right? Your brain is going to provide you an answer. Even if it's a khaki color instead of brown, right? That's the way your brain works. Your brain is always looking for the answer, and it's looking for what you believe to be possible. If we know that brown existed, we're going to list off things that were kind of brown, sort of brown, even if we didn't notice all of the brown. And when we open our eyes again and we look around, we're like, oh, snap. There's a lot of brown in here that I did not, real brown, not khaki color shit either, right? I didn't notice it. Why? Because I wasn't looking for it. And you're not going to look for things if you don't believe they're possible, okay? So, that being said, when we believe that it is possible for us to know what our horses need and want, when we believe that it is possible to get communication from them that is very clear and gives us the answer, we will find it. And this has nothing to do with interspecies communication. This is not, well, how do I understand what the horse says? Because I speak human. That's not it. That's not it. As animal communication, it has been glorified and complicated. If you believe it is possible to know what your horse needs and wants, you will get the answer, okay? So when we talk about intuition, when I've talked to you guys about intuition, I often break it down and try and make it really logical and easy for you guys to understand, because a lot of us have been, either we naturally are very logical brained, or we've been raised in a society that builds us up in a logical way and wants us to think very logically. And also it just makes it a lot easier when we can understand things, right? So we talk about intuition in the terms of a little less magic, even though it is super magical, and I love that part of it. I love the feeling of the magic of intuition and alignment and knowing that things just make sense the way that I perceive them to be taking place, but it all comes down to perception. And what we're perceiving when we're having intuitive moments is anything that our five senses take in. Remember that our subconscious mind is taking in way more information than our conscious mind could possibly process. And it is our subconscious mind, it's its job to filter out all of the extra details and only give us in our conscious mind exactly what we need to know. And that, again, is going to filter out what we believe. Okay? Your subconscious mind will magically filter out the things that you don't believe in. So one of the things that I do all the time is I don't believe in snakes. I don't believe in them. Why? Because they really creep me out. So I just don't believe in them. I don't believe they live on my property. I don't believe, okay, this has been really effective for me for my entire childhood. Has been really effective. I live out in the country. I currently live about 5 miles, maybe less, probably less than 5 miles from where I grew up. And I saw very minimal snakes as a child. And I attributed that to being like, they ain't real. They don't live here. Not in my neighborhood. I mean, I know they live on the other side of the planet. I know they live over here, but they don't live here with me. They're not in my world, okay? That being the case, I have seen very few in my life. And so when we moved here, I kept saying that. I'm like, stop talking about them. They don't exist here. They don't exist here. They don't exist here. And my husband like, this is crazy. How'd you not see them as your kid? They're, gardener snakes are everywhere, blah, 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 blah. I have seen more snakes in my life living here for the last 3 years than I have in my entire life outside of that. So 3 years out of the other 33. That I didn't really notice them. And that is because someone kept telling me, kept bringing them into my reality and bringing them into my awareness, and therefore I kept noticing them. I would much rather not notice them, okay? But that all comes down to belief and perception and our subconscious mind doing us a favor, and the things that we don't believe in, that we don't want to acknowledge, that we don't want to see. It's like, cool, you don't have to see this, all right? You don't need it. So we have our regular five senses that we are all taught in school. Touch, taste, feel, smell, right? All of those, seeing, all those, hearing, whatever, all of our senses that we're taught. I said hear, smell, whatever. You know what I'm saying. The five, okay? But there are other senses. There are other senses that we have. There's clear sentience, which is feeling. It's picking up on feelings. It is knowing things through feelings. It is understanding things through feelings. There's clear cognizance, which is just a knowing. You just know that you know things. I have that one. I thought other people did too. And my truth is that anybody is capable of building the skill sets to use these senses, right? Just like when I teach people massage, everybody is talking about feel and feeling textures and understanding the difference between a good healthy tissue and a really knotted up, unhealthy, dried out tissue, right? That's a sense of feel. But I'm talking with clear sentience, I'm talking about more than just the actual touch feel, but in fact also sensations that relate to emotion, okay? So these are all things that can be built, just like that touch feel through massage practice. And so I always thought that like everybody just had those feelings where they knew that they knew things, but that's something that was a little bit easier for me. That was one of my first skills that I really had built up. Like there were just instincts that I had that I knew things, so it was easy to build that skill, right? The other options, other senses here would be clairaudience. So you hear things, and I get songs in my head. I don't know if that qualifies as hearing things, but I get songs in my head, and then I can assign a meaning to it, or it conveniently aligns with what I'm already thinking or feeling, and I'm like, wow, thank you for that alignment, right? Clairvoyance, seeing things. This could be premonition. This could be seeing, as in remembering really clearly the past, whether you were there or not, things like that. This one's funny. Clairalieness. Clairalieness. I always think I'm saying it wrong, but it's smell. It's a smelling things that you don't necessarily have a reason to smell. Okay, so have you ever walked into a place or out of a place or whatever and smelled smoke, but there was no smoke? That can be that. Other smells too, but I think smoke is a pretty common one. Then there's also this one. I'm gonna slaughter it. Clairgustance, which is taste, which I think is really weird. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. So anyway, there's all these clairs. There's all these extra senses that we have that we don't give credit to the fact that they are also feeding into our subconscious mind, which is funneled into our conscious mind. And when we believe that we can use that information, we will in fact use that information. And what it takes is tuning into the frequency, right? All of this information is flying around out there, and it's being funneled through our subconscious mind. If we want to be really, like my ability to just know that I know things, I have to tune into that. I have to find the stillness within myself to be able to tune into that frequency to receive the message, okay? The one thing, and now it's to the point where it's like, I don't even have to think about it. It just happens. It just happens because I'm aware of it, because I believe in it, right? So let me bring this to your horse. Are you ready? Are you ready? I know there's a lot of gabbing to bring us around to the horse. So I bought a Frisian horse last July for really cheap. They bought him for $30,000 as like a 3-year-old and put a year's worth of training into him and thought that he had EPM, but from what I know of EPM, his numbers were way too low to be a significant actual infection of EPM. It was more antibodies of EPM. Horses around here all have EPM. You test them, they're all going to show positive for EPM. It's all about the level of EPM in their system to determine whether it's actually infiltrated the spinal fluid, and if it's in the spinal fluid, then yes, you have an actual infection. But if it's just in the blood, it's not really, no red flags. So I went to see him, and when I bought him, like, he had bad saddle fit, and in my opinion, he had been worked too much, too fast, too young, because he's a big drafty breed. They're going to take longer to fuse their bones and joints and feel comfortable carrying the weight, even though they look big enough. That's not an indicator that they're actually ready to start working. And he was already doing jumping training in his 3 to 4 year old year, and I felt like it was too much. So when I had the opportunity to snag him for a really inexpensive price, I was like, hell's to the yes. We have done the rehab work. I've switched him to barefoot. He has been sound. I've ridden him bareback, but I haven't been able to find a saddle to fit him because he is the freaking barrel, okay? His back is a picnic table, and he is round like a 55-gallon barrel, okay? So it's taken a long time to find a saddle, and I've just been riding him bareback. And even at one point, I rode him bareback, and he just kept laying down, and I was like, At first, I was like, stop being naughty, and then I was like, yeah, I actually don't think this is naughtiness. And so, truth be told, he had a little bit more pain. It was a weakness more than anything else, so we did some more body work, we did some more rehab work, and we're ready to ride now. And what do you know, I found a saddle. And I'm super excited to have the saddle. I put the saddle on him, and hallelujah, amen, it actually fit. Like, I have tried, guys. I have tried so many saddles. I just haven't been in a huge rush for it, because I have another horse that I can ride. I don't need to ride him. And my daughter is not as interested as I'd hoped she would have been. So we're just at the point of getting ready to sell him. So I'm like, I just need a saddle so that I can ride him, so I can show people that he's a good boy and that he does have skill. And because he's only 5, guys, that's a big part. He's only 5 still. So I get the saddle and they put it on him, and I'm like, oh, having the feelings of like, this is going to be really hard to sell him now because he looks so handsome in a saddle, and now that we have a saddle, I can ride him. I don't need another, but it's fine. Anyway, so I put the saddle on him, and as soon as I get the girth to the point where, not even tight, just touching, like, you know, because I'm not going to snug it up right away. I was going to take him out and walk him a little bit before I snug it up, before I get on. And he was already like, just as soon as that girth went on, he was just like, oh God, oh no. And he started dancing a little bit, and I was like, it's okay, like, what's going on? And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, we're not even going to put stirrups on this saddle. We're just going to go work in this saddle. So I never tightened the girth up again. I just took him out, and we did some groundwork. We did the normal groundwork that we worked through. You know, we worked on stepping his hind end over, stepping it on both sides, then just his shoulders, and then, you know, some nice walk circles, really focusing on him, carrying himself properly, tracking up. And he was distracted. It was not his best work. And when I asked him to move into the trot, and I expected there was going to be something because he was distracted, right? When I asked him to move into the trot, he kind of exploded. Just jumping around. I mean, I say exploded. I've seen worse. But he's bucking and jumping around, and I just didn't react. I just held the line and encouraged him to walk on, get back on the circle. And I could tell that he had this moment where he was like, really? That's it? Like, you're not mad, you're not, you know, I'm not going to get in trouble for this, and, you know, push him back out on the circle. We did that in both directions twice. Both directions. He had a little explosion. And so we're getting towards the end. Like, I'm about done. I just wanted to see him move in the saddle. We're not going to go any further than this today because he's clearly uncomfortable. And I had my big pasture empty. I've had it empty for about a month now. So I kind of glanced out at it, and I was like, how awesome that we have a saddle now. I can actually feel what it's like to let him run. And so I have this thought, which is then promptly interrupted by an intrusive thought, if you will, of me just smiling and having so much fun, and him panicking beneath me out on this run, just throwing a fit, and I'm still smiling, and I'm still laughing, and I'm still having a good time, but he is not. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I just looked at him and I was like, hey, like, if this isn't going to be fun for you, it's not going to be fun. That's not going to happen. I am not going to go out and have a good time if you are that uncomfortable. So, like, literally, we just took a minute, and I literally spoke verbal words to him and kind of had that message, like, okay, so there's, I don't know the science and whatever, but there is science. I've read it. What book? Don't ask me. I have it somewhere, but I will botch the title. But there's science about sending pictures to horses, right? And that's where our connections start. When we talk about tuning in, we're finding stillness in ourselves, but then sending them messages before we worry about receiving back, right? We send first before we worry about receiving back. And so there is some science to them sharing pictures and us sharing pictures and whatever. And so I was kind of just, you know, speaking to him, but also like, you're freaking out. I'm going to do exactly what I did here, which is not react and let you do what you need to do and not push you. I don't want to push you. This isn't for me. This is for us, right? Putting that connection first. And so, he sighed and had a lick and chew, and then I put him back out on the circle, just walking in both directions, just to like reaffirm, like, this is where we're at. And the very next day, I came out and I put stirrups right on the saddle. I told him from the beginning, like, I have an intention to ride today, but if you're really not comfortable, then we're not going to do that, right? And it to me was backing up that moment that he sent me this picture of like me being happy and him being miserable, reinforced to me that my instinct about his previous situation was correct. He felt like nobody was listening to him being uncomfortable. And it's not that they didn't do anything for him. They did do things for him. They just weren't the right things. People weren't understanding. And I wanted him to know that if I don't understand you, I'm still not going to push through, right? That's not what this is about. This isn't about me pushing through things. This is about us having a good relationship and both of us having a good time. So I put the stirrups in the saddle and took him out and just kind of tested him out, seeing how he was going to feel. Walk, trot both ways, all the, testing all the buttons, and he was so much better. There were no reactions. I even left the stirrups down to kind of knock around and make noise and whatever. And he was good. He was great. And so I got on. He stood at the mounting block. He let me get on. And we went off the property, rode out by ourselves. No problems at all. Down the road, 5 years old, hasn't been ridden in a saddle since I bought him. Hasn't left the property for more than the walk that we went on last month, up the road and back. And that was me hand walking him, and he handled the traffic like a champion. He was so good about everything. And what it came down to was him being able to communicate to me and me being aware enough to listen. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that can make a ton of like, well, whatever, it just worked out that way. And, you didn't really get a message. It's silly that you think that. You can totally think that if you want to. That's the power of belief. But because I believe that my horses communicate to me, because I believe that they are sharing their needs and wants, things seem to be working out for me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I find the problems, okay? I find the problems with my client horses. I find the problems with my own horses. We have clear communication, and that has led me to all good things at this point. So if you choose to believe that this is something that is possible for you and your horse, expect to find success. I'm not telling you that you won't get setbacks, okay? Because there are things that you need to understand about the way their body works, right? And so there might be opportunity for you to reach out to professionals to get some help so that you are getting the message and then saying, I don't know what to do with this message. Someone help me translate what this means, or someone help me understand how I can make a difference with this information, right? Hey, Lisa. Hey, Annie. Sorry, I've been rambling really good. I didn't scroll down to read the comments. So belief is everything. Belief is everything. And then this brings us back to muscle testing and trusting yourself. Believing in yourself enough that when you muscle test that this is the problem or that this is something that your horse needs or wants, that you just fucking believe it. Take the information and use it. Whether that means you need to use it by taking it to someone else to help you to best apply the information, or that you just know what to do next. Either way, act on it, believe it. And so this is where we now come into like what I have created for you guys for Black Friday, which is a whole new program. It is 15 days of this type of work, belief work, connection work, trusting yourself so that you can show up and receive the messages from either your horses or client horses or both, so that you can have these kind of good outcomes. Because all it takes is trusting and believing in yourself, and you can have those outcomes too. So Equine Alchemy, Awaken Your Inner Magic, is ready for you now. For Black Friday, it is only $97. Its regular price is $297. So I don't know. I just kind of highly recommend you jump in for Black Friday. It's going to be available at the $97 price through Black Friday. There may be a sale for Cyber Monday, but it will not be cheaper than Black Friday. So just saying. If you want to pay more, you can wait. I'll take more money. That's fine. But yes, so that is going to start in December. When you click on the link that I'm going to drop in the comments, you can go over there and sign up. When you sign up, not only is this like taking your payment, but it's also signing you up for the actual container, okay? We're not doing this program on Facebook. This is an off Facebook program. It actually has an app, so you can log right into the app on your phone, at the barn, wherever you're at, to get every day's little tidbit assignment, so that you can actually apply things in real time with your horse, because doesn't that just make sense? So click the link, make your payment, get access to the program, and you can start collecting points for the scavenger hunt today. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to get out of here because I talked too much for too long. I'm going to drop the link in the comments for Awaken Your Inner Magic, the Equine Alchemy, and I suggest you grab that at Black Friday price. Okay? Alrighty, I'm out of here. Talk to y'all later.